after the Sega Saturn, also in the midst of the Dreamcast era, pre-PlayStation 2, I picked up an N64. This was a console that I really felt no need to get because, again, I was in college, and so there was always a handful of kids who had this console in their dorm rooms. And the N64, of course, played host to some of the greatest multiplayer gaming out there. Yes, it was largely deemed a failure by the end of its lifespan by critics and even, I think, to an extent, Nintendo itself. And certainly, the populace, which pretty much... I mean, the N64 is when the PlayStation really took over. But the N64 did offer a number of things up. Culturally, there were some neat things going on in the N64 era that I mentioned with when I discussed at length my Dreamcast prognosis, or whatever you want to call these, rumination. But it was an interesting time where video games were evolving, but not enough. I don't know. Again, I didn't see the 64 as a real breakthrough in terms of graphics. I don't think many people did. I think the Nintendo 64 really brought to the fore multiplayer gaming that was possible in former eras. You could get a multi-tap, that is to say a four-player controller adapter for everything, including the original Nintendo. There weren't too many games to play in four-player on the original Nintendo, though I think Super Spike V-Ball is absolutely worth it. Four-player Super Spike is awesome. As is World Cup Soccer. Check it out. Same cartridge. Freaking sweet. So you had that. And then on the TurboGrafx, of course, you had 5-player Bomberman, which you can actually get on your Wii now via download. And then the Sega Genesis, I have my four-way play, there was four-way play, and this is a good example of why the 64 was significant, really. Not only did it come with 4 controller ports on the machine, so you didn't have to go and buy anything extra, but it really took the complication out of buying four-player adapters for some of us in the first place. So if you were playing a Sega Genesis and you wanted to play a four-player game of Bomberman, you actually had to have Sega's four-player adapter instead of EA's four-way play, their four-player adapter, which was specifically designed for use with their games. It took the complications out of it. The N64 really just let you plug in controllers and play. And the games that let you play multiplayer were fantastic. Number one, of course, being James Bond. 007, 007. I played GoldenEye, probably, no joke, it was at a friend's house before I actually owned it, and before I got my Dreamcast. I was still playing Genesis at the time. I probably played that seriously no less than 3 hours a day for about a year. I'm serious. This thing was humongo. I did not care much for the game when I played it over at a friend's house for the first time. We were playing Golden Gun mode, and I just got sniped, and I did not enjoy that. Wasn't impressed with the speed, too slow, and not too into it. Graphics muddy, whatever. Let this game grow on you, and this thing, it's a classic for a reason. And it still stands tall. I did plug it in not too long ago. It's really slow after Quake 3, but this was the game that really, for the very first time, brought first-person shooters, today's most popular genre here in the States. This was the game that really brought this home, and it was an amazing experience that I doubt anyone who's ever played it will ever forget, and probably not forget the broken controllers as a result of hours upon hours of play. Fantastic. Really, really good game. Yes. And it did bring... The N64, as we all know now, and you can download games also through the Virtual Console on your Wii, did offer some really great gaming experiences, though they were few and far between, which is why it was deemed kind of a loss for the company when PlayStation was offering a number of really solid third-party titles. With 2008, 2009 eyes, you're going to have to get used to a lot of mist or blur or fog in these games. Muddy textures are often the case. Yeah, but the 4-player is worth it. You bought a 64 because you were a multiplayer gamer. And on that tip, it served us well.